The 2020 presidential election is just 5 days away, and I don't think it's possible for two candidates to be so opposed on just about every issue. Well, we will analyze the most salient of those issues on the upcoming election on this edition of End of the Age. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave Robbins with Endtime Ministries. Thank you for joining me on this edition of End of the Age. Quick update on Irvin Baxter. Many of you know and heard yesterday I gave the announcement that he does have COVID, and he's in the hospital, doing well, doing better, I should say, this morning. He was taking breathing treatments, and he'll be in the hospital about 5 days, so he'll be in the hospital until Sunday. And they are giving him the same medicine that they gave President Trump. And so he's actually he's on the mend, let's say, and doing better. So I just thought I'd give you a quick update. Many of you are interested in it. And if you'd like more information on that and some more updates and things like that, go to www.endtime.com/COVID. And there's more updates and some things that you can sign. And just remember to keep Irvin Baxter in your prayers, and all of us here at Endtime Ministries. We've got a lot of people working from home, a lot of things right now, so it's kind of topsy-turvy. But I know that God, the Bible says, all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. We don't walk in fear. Brother Baxter is going to be back, and we're going to be rolling again. And so just thank you for all of your prayers and support at this time. Now, we're going to be talking about the election. Probably spend a lot of time. We'll spend it today on it, maybe Monday, and of course tomorrow's open line. But I wanted to spend some today on some of the salient issues, because President Trump, President Biden, they're diametrically opposed on just about everything. But I want to kind of set the tone for this, because there was an article in the Washington Post, and an Archbishop Vigano, actually, I think it was in a Washington Examiner, sorry. The Archbishop Vigano said that Trump faces biblical challenge against demonic forces of the New World. And so Archbishop Vigano warned voters that warring principalities unseen to the human eye will clash on Election Day. And he wrote in a letter that the presidential elections in November would represent an epical challenge, a biblical challenge, the outcome of which will be decisive not only for the United States of America, but for the entire world. And he went on to say that it is necessary that all of you Catholics, he's an archbishop, all of you Catholics of America are well aware of the role that Providence has designed to entrust you to your president, and that you are aware of the extraordinary battle that he is preparing to fight against the demonic forces of the deep state and against the New World Order. Well, I would interject there that he's been fighting that since the very day he was inaugurated, just about. He's been fighting the evil of the deep state, the establishment, the New World Order. He's been fighting that every day that he puts his feet on the floor in the morning. And he's not going to stop. And there is good versus evil that's taking place right now in the upcoming election. The Archbishop also asserted that Mr. Trump is the greatest defender of the supreme values of Christian civilization, of life from conception to natural death, of the natural family composed of one man and one woman and children, and of love for the homeland one nation under God. I wanted to kind of set the tone for my program today because we're going to be talking about the election, and there is a lot involved. It's not just issues of taxes and regulation and things like that, but we're talking about abortion, the killing of babies. We're talking about our United States involvement in the world government, which will eventually be ran by the Antichrist, and in the homosexuality being pushed or not pushed here in America. So there's a lot of things that are biblical that are going to be weighed in the balance in this upcoming election. So we need to talk about some of these salient issues today. So here we go, the 2020 election. You know, President Trump, he's talked about it. He recognizes that him and Joe Biden are diametrically obviously Joe Biden, the Democratic presidential candidate, could not be more diametrically opposed on every single issue. Just for a moment, let's set prophecy aside, and I want you to think about the issues of, well, okay, let's just hold. We're coming up to a break. I don't want to cut this in half, but this is very important. There's so many issues. I mean, and these guys are as far apart as you can get on each of these issues. We'll name the issues when we come back, and then I've got just a few that we're going to focus on today, because just like this Archbishop said, there is good versus evil at play here.
Major internet companies are silencing and censoring Christian voices online. These companies are trying to control what you see and hear. Almost 200 videos of ours have been marked as restricted online right now. That's why we launched End of the Age Plus, a platform where the truth won't be censored, a platform where we can preach the message of the gospel. When you subscribe to End of the Age Plus today for just $12.99 a month, you can watch all of our content in a secure, easy-to-view way from your favorite device. When you go to watch.endtime.com and subscribe, you'll get instant access to all of our teaching resources, including Revelation, the Unveiling of Jesus Christ, Understanding the End Time, End Time Magazine, and so much more. We will not censor our message to comply with what the world deems as politically correct. Go to watch.endtime.com right now or search End of the Age Plus in the App Store or Google Play.
We've seen Bible prophecy fulfilled like never before. From the halls of the United Nations to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, End Time Ministries continues to reveal the Bible prophecy in the news headlines around the world every day. Whether it's through our broadcast or online at our Jerusalem Prophecy College, your gifts enable us to put vital materials in the hands of those who need it most. Because of you, we continue to replace fear with faith in the hearts of Christians around the world. We will continue to see prophecy come to pass at an even swifter pace. We need your support. Your donation of any amount enables us to continue to broadcast and be a voice in the ever-growing censored media. To become a partner or give a one-time gift, visit endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME right now. That's 800-363-8463. Go online now. Visit endtime.com.
So consider some of these issues on abortion. And the reason I want to bring this up today, because I know there are about between 60 and 70 million people that have already voted. But there are still, I think there was about, 150 or 160 million people that voted in 2016, somewhere around there. And so we've got 60 to 70 million that have already voted. So at least there's another 70, 80, maybe 90 million that will vote just over the next several days. And so we wanted to talk about these today. So think of the issues of abortion. President Trump, he's pro-life. Joe Biden, he's pro-abortion. To force the LGBT agenda in America, President Trump, no. Joe Biden, absolutely yes. to advocate the transgender access to bathrooms and locker rooms based on their gender identity. Donald Trump, President Trump, no. Joe Biden, yes, he will push that. Regulation on small businesses. All of you business owners out there, regulation. President Trump, he's for decreasing regulation. Joe Biden, increase regulation. Think about the regulation you had on your business under the Obama administration. Okay? You want to go back to that? Military spending. President Trump, he's increased that. He's had to build it back up because it was so depleted under the Obama administration. Joe Biden, he's for decreasing that. Foreign policy. Of course, President Trump, America first. Joe Biden, consider the pro-globalism stance or pro-world governing stance of the Obama administration. Joe Biden, he's right in that same vein, everybody. Global warming. President Trump, it's a hoax, which is the absolute true. Joe Biden says global warming, which leads to climate change, is absolute fact. The science is settled. On the economy, President Trump, record-setting stock markets and the soaring economy. But under a Joe Biden, you'd probably move back under the how it was under the Obama administration. Protect our borders. President Trump, yes, build the wall. Joe Biden, no. He wants open borders. We've got about, I think they just celebrated about 400 miles of border wall on our southern borders. Joe Biden is wanting to stop construction on that. Second Amendment rights. President Trump, pro-Second Amendment. Joe Biden, heavy restrictions on your Second Amendment rights. And, you know, the list goes on and on. But think of this. You've heard the term one-issue voter, a one-issue voter. Well, I'm not a one-issue voter. However, in my opinion, if the election was just determined by one issue, let's say abortion, there would be no contest in my mind. Abortion is wrong biblically, morally, and every other way imaginable. Think about it. Killing a baby all the way up to the time 9 months. And then taking the baby. Or to some people, infanticide. Allowing the baby to be born, lay over on a table, keep it comfortable, and then the mother and the doctor have a discussion. Well, no, that baby's got a cleft palate. I don't want it. Or something else. And there are people that believe and can justify in their own mind that that's okay. So, abortion in any way, shape, or form, no. It's anti-Bible, folks. So, we've got to think about these things because this is, I mean, we're in 5 days. This is going to come to a head real quick here. So, should he get reelected in November, it's pretty safe to say that President Trump is going to continue his America First policy, making America great while protecting Israel. And you can pretty much sum up the next 4 years or 8 years after November 3rd, should Joe Biden get elected. I mean, all you have to do is browse his campaign website to see all of the references comparing the Obama-Biden years to the potential Biden administration. He's going to try to mirror that. And so if you wonder kind of what he's going to do, look at what happened under the Obama administration. So from all I can tell, Joe Biden's goal will be to reverse everything that Trump has achieved and more. Now, I don't have the time to cover everything that a Biden administration would overturn. However, there are some things that we absolutely have to cover. I don't think, or I should say I do think, for the sake of our Judeo-Christian base in America, there is one of the former vice president's agendas that you should be aware of. Now, there's many, obviously. But in February of 2017, the Trump administration revoked federal guidelines issued by former President Barack Obama that allowed public school students to use restrooms and other facilities that corresponded with their gender identity, okay, which is a very good thing. Well, according to Joe Biden's presidential campaign website, if elected, Joe Biden will, and I'm going to quote from the website, Joe Biden will ensure that young LGBTQ people are supported and protected in our schools and college campuses by guaranteeing transgender students that they have access to facilities based on their gender identity, just how they identify. It states on his website, on his first day in office, Joe Biden will reinstate the Obama-Biden guidance revoked by the Trump-Pence administration, which will restore transgender students access to sports, bathrooms, locker rooms in accordance with their gender identity. So it says that he will direct his Department of Education to vigorously enforce and investigate violations of transgender students' civil rights. Now, is that the America that you want to live in? A nation where a 16-year-old or 17, 18-year-old young man can decide that he's a female. Now, this has already happened, okay? There's been young men that decide they're a female and they participate in track teams and wrestling and all kinds of different things. But a 16, 17, 18-year-old. Now put yourself, everybody that's got kids in school, think about this. That this young man can decide he's a female and automatically be allowed to participate in girls' sports, your daughter's track team, use your daughter's restroom, a girl's restroom, or change his clothes in a girl's locker room. Now, my mind won't even go there. I can't even comprehend that. But it's on Joe Biden's website. And that's one of the many alarming LGBTQ plus issues that Joe Biden would champion should he get elected in November. Joe Biden's campaign website states he will immediately reverse the discriminatory actions of the Trump-Pence administration and then go further to end discrimination against LGBTQ individuals. So, again, if I was a one-issue voter, abortion, that would end it for me. But this one issue could also decide the election for most true Christians. Now, folks, I got to tell you, I have some friends of mine who consider themselves Christians, but say, well, I'm still going to vote for Joe Biden. And I'm like, how? I don't understand that. He's pro-abortion. He's going to push the LGBTQ agenda in America. How does that compute? I don't understand that. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't had anybody shoot me an email and explain that yet. But it's just kind of what's going through my mind, everybody. And then you got to think about the UN Security Council Resolution 2334. Israel National News reported this morning that, and this is, so Israel, Jerusalem, Prime Minister Netanyahu, all of these guys are aware of this. But Israel National News, the voice of the settlers out in the West Bank, should Biden get elected, the Israeli-Palestinian Israeli conflict, Arab conflict, would return to the United Nations for determination in accordance with the Anti-Israel Security Council Resolution 2334, on which the Biden administration shamefully abstained without consulting President-elect Trump as Obama readied to vacate the White House on December 23, 2016, which clearly states that Israel's presence in East Jerusalem and the West Bank is illegal and a flagrant violation of international law. Israel knows that Joe Biden was instrumental on getting that passed. They've talked about it this morning in the news. And they realize, I actually just quoted from an article in the Israel National News. Should Biden get elected, here we go again. The Palestinians will go back to the United Nations and say, hey, we need to readjust what's going on here with the peace deal and all these other things because of Resolution 2334, who Joe Biden approved and was instrumental in getting passed in 2016. So you can kind of see there's a whole lot to weigh here before you vote. And there's a lot going on in this election that really kind of is different than most elections. I mean, it's really, we're kind of weighing the United States and which way we veer here. And it's very, very, very crucial because with all of the prophecies coming down right now, the peace agreement, the possibility of the Sixth Trumpet War, all these different things, the world government, I'm going to spend some time on that. The world government being established here in the world right now, the world religion, a lot of different things. A lot of these things, who do you want at the helm of the United States of America for the next 4 years? Do we want somebody who is anti-world government? The Bible says, prophesies, in the end time there's going to be a world government that the Antichrist will lord over. So, do we want somebody who's pro-world government? So think about, let's talk about some prophetic implications of this. The world government, the one world government. And the number one issue by far in America's presidential campaign is, just like it was back in 2016, is globalism. This one issue, again, if we were a one-issue voter, I mean, there's several, but that's why I took the whole thing and weighed my vote. But this one issue could determine the future course of the United States of America. Globalism. What is globalism? Globalism is simply the belief that the nation state is obsolete. The world must move into a system of global governance. And clearly stated, globalists believe that national borders should be dissolved and a one world government should be instituted. Joe Biden believes that. He's a liberal internationalist, folks. He believes in world government. President Obama was a liberal internationalist. He believed in a world government. Now, you've got to kind of determine, do I want a globalist, a liberal internationalist in the White House for the next 4 years with all these prophecies coming down? Yeah, it's that real, folks. I mean, Strobe Talbot, we've quoted this many times. We probably will many more. But he stated it very clearly in his article, The Birth of a Global Nation. This was back in 1992, in July of 92 in Time magazine. He said, within the next 100 years, nationhood, as we know it, is going to be obsolete, and all states will recognize a single global authority. We don't believe that that's going to be the United States, but that's what they want. And there are people working feverishly to get that done, and have been for many decades. Well, of course, 2 years later, Strobe Talbot was tapped by President Bill Clinton to serve as Deputy Secretary of State, where he pushed his global agenda until the end of the Clinton presidency in 2001. Strobe Talbot was a liberal internationalist. Bill Clinton, his boss, was a liberal internationalist. And so they all believed in a world government, New World Order, liberal international order. So let's talk about the liberal international order. You know that global elites have been for decades working meticulously to create a world government. If you don't know that, again, we started that church in New York, and I taught this to a woman that worked at the United Nations. She didn't understand what world government was. And she worked at the United Nations in the bookstore or something like that. But she was like, I had no clue. So the goal is a global governing system so all-inclusive and minutely detailed through the Sustainable Development Goals and things that it will control all aspects of every person's life. The universal agenda driving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is to regulate all individual production, consumption patterns with the ultimate objective of thought manipulation resulting in absolute obedience and allegiance. That's what they want. If you look at the Democratic Party right now, when they are promising free college, free health care, free everything, I mean just free, all that's doing is sucking. Nothing's free, okay? Nothing is free. All they're doing is sucking you in because they want control. And because if I can give you something with strings attached, I can control you with that. All I've got to do is get you dependent on the government for this free stuff. Free stuff. I'm dependent upon the government for my education. I'm dependent upon the government. And the problem is you're dependent upon the government rather than being self-sustaining, which is what made this country great, was people getting out, hard work, making it happen. No, they want you to depend upon the government. So they say, well, it's your right to have health care. It's not a privilege, it's your right. So we're going to give you free health care, but if you depend upon the government for health care and college and all these other things, then the government can control you with that. We need to understand what's really going on here. So we'll talk about this a little bit more, obviously, when we get back from the break. We'll get a little bit deeper into it.
Move Mountains with Irvin Baxter. This book by Irvin's grandson provides 30 days of devotion that will enhance your relationship with God and others. Authentic illustrations from early morning devotions at Endtime will help you find your purpose and eliminate fears. Commit to taking this 30-day journey and experience real life change. Get your book for only $14.99. Call 1-800-363-8463 or go to endtime.com/move.
I have left a piece of my heart in Israel and her people. We would like to thank Endtime for doing such an awesome job with our Israel tour. We marvel at your team keeping the time schedule, keeping everyone comfortable, the wonderful driver, the brilliant guide, the entire tour program, good hotel choices, and stellar food. We had the privilege to rub shoulders with Pastor Baxter, listen to his current teachings, and had some interesting questions answered so eloquently. He is wonderful. Helene from Australia.
Experience the Holy Land in the most amazing way. Join Irvin and Judy Baxter for our upcoming Israel tour. For more information, go to endtime.com or call 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archive button.
So these individuals have been trying to create this world government for years now. And the results of that is the formation of these international institutions specifically designed to govern the world. The United Nations, we talk about that all the time. The International Monetary Fund, International Criminal Court, the World Bank, the World Health Organization. A lot of people, there were people that when President Trump pulled us out of the World Health Organization, people got just, they almost hyperventilated. The World Health Organization, we've got to have that. We don't need, that's an arm of the world government, everybody. We don't need the World Health Organization. President Trump was very correct in doing that. Then you have the World Trade Organization, just to name a few. It's world government. The United Nations obviously is the seat of that world government. So what happened after World War II? The United States led the efforts to create this new world order, or this liberal international order. Every administration since the founding of the United Nations, Republican or Democrat, has fully supported the New World Order. However, Bible prophecy foretells that a different political atmosphere in America in the end time. According to the prophecies, there's going to be a world government established just prior to the second coming of Jesus Christ, but the United States is not going to be fully in compliance with that agenda. So the two most famous prophecy books in the Bible, Daniel and Revelation, they very clearly prophesy a world government for the end time. Daniel 7:23 says it like this. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom on the earth, which shall be diverse from all the other kingdoms. He shall devour the whole earth, tread it down, and break it in pieces. So that passage refers to the last day dictator, the Antichrist, who will rule the world just before the second coming of Jesus to the earth. Daniel 7:24 through 27 clearly states that this world government will continue until the return of Jesus, when the kingdom of God will be established on the earth. That's Daniel's version. Revelation 13 verse 7 says that the Antichrist and his one world government, it says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given over him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations, a world governing body. And then Revelation 13:5 even tells us how long the world government will continue. So the world government's being established right now. But it's when the Antichrist usurps authority over that, he's going to be given power. Well, the Bible says, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. Power was given to him to continue 42 months. So these 42 months refers to the timing of the Great Tribulation, and it culminates with the second coming of Jesus Christ to the earth. So the Antichrist will rule this world government for that final 3.5 years. That's going to be the Great Tribulation, the 3.5 years. Now, from the signing of the United Nations Charter in 1945 until the 2016 presidential election, it was clear that the United States was, in fact, in full compliance with the world governing system. However, knowing the prophecies foretell America's absence from the world government system, and the rate the end-time prophecies are being fulfilled, we knew that Washington's political atmosphere had to change soon. Well, like I said, the number one issue by far in the 2016 presidential campaign was globalism. So we were wondering, how's all this going to take place? Because we knew what Hillary Clinton would do, but we didn't really know what Donald Trump would do. And again, I want you to make sure you understand this. Globalism. It's the belief that the nation state was obsolete. Hillary Clinton was fine with that. Open up our borders. We don't want a wall. And she was a liberal internationalist, just like her husband, Bill Clinton. And that the globalism, the world would move into a system of world governance. And so the Obama-Biden administration was a big proponent of that emerging system of global governance. They threw America's borders wide open. They refused to enforce our immigration laws, signed us onto the Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. That's the United Nations socialistic blueprint for global governance. The Obama administration signed us onto that lock, stock, and barrel, and then committed us to the climate change portion of that with the Paris Climate Agreement. You remember President Trump pulled us out of that. Joe Biden is saying day one, I'm going to put us right back into that. We are going to commit to the climate change portion of that to reduce our carbon emissions. That's what all that carbon emissions talk is all about. to reduce all that and to move away from the oil industry. You remember him talking about that the other night in the debate? Move away from the oil industry. Did that not knock you out of your chair? I mean, both my vehicles run on gas. What's going to happen? Think about that. He actually kind of shot himself in the foot there in the debate when he said, I'm going to move away from the oil and gas industry. Everybody shook their head and said, what? And then, so the Paris Climate Agreement, that's our commitment to put hundreds of millions of dollars towards this, the global warming climate change aspect of the Sustainable Development Goals. Joe Biden said day one, we're going to move right back into the Paris Climate Agreement. So you see, there is a lot at stake in this election 5 days from now. However, 2016, presidential candidate at that time, Donald Trump, prior to the election, he strongly opposed globalization and open borders. You hear it in his stump speeches, and Irvin Baxter and I were sitting there talking, and I thought, wait, hold up. You hear what he's saying? We had many discussions. He's talking against the process of globalization and open borders. He wanted to control our borders, build the wall, and restore American sovereignty. But when he said, I'm going to build a wall, I'm going to build a strong wall, did you see the news media and the international community just attack him like a pack of wolves? Why'd they do that? Because they do not want borders protecting America. They want open borders. They want a global state that answers to a global governing body. So anybody that wants to build a wall, we just can't have that. And they attacked him. Well, Joe Biden is pro not having a wall, opening the borders. Pro-world government. We've got to talk about this because this is going to be decided in a few days. We got to get this right. And we need Almighty God's help. I believe we had His help in 2016. We need His help in 5 days. All need to be praying about it. So if you understand the prophecies of America's secession from the ongoing process of globalization and further enslavement of into the world government, we wondered if President Trump could be the one to bring about the exit of the United States. We were talking about this just about every day back just prior to the election in 2016. And, you know, and President Trump had promised not going to do that. Well, when's the last time a president actually kept his promises, right? I mean, they normally promise, and then they get in office and they don't do any of it. Well, looking back now, it's easy to see that President Trump pretty much meant what he said and immediately began to enact his America First policy. In his first speech at the United Nations, President Trump vowed to put America first, and he actually said this, in foreign affairs, we're renewing this founding principle of sovereignty. Our government's first duty is to its people, to our citizens, to serve their needs, to ensure their safety, to preserve their rights, and defend their values. As President of the United States, I will always put America first. And then he went on to say, we will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism or world government. He said, I am skeptical of the international unions that tie us up and bring America down. And under my administration, we will never enter America into any agreement that reduces our ability to control our own affairs. The nation state remains the true foundation of happiness and harmony. Well, when he said that, the international community exploded out of their senses. They can't stand him to this day because he is against the deep state. He's against the establishment. He's against the international community that's trying to suck us up into this one world governing body. So President Trump gets in office. He starts implementing his American First policies. And that's just the sort of thing that Joe Biden and the rest of the international community, they were afraid of. So what happens? He's elected in November of 2016. Resolution 2334 is passed in December 23rd, 2016, Joe Biden's last speech as vice president, which would have been in January 18th of 2017, he's speaking at the World Economic Forum. And his whole speech is devoted to protecting the liberal international order. Because Mr. Trump, at that time, criticized the process of globalization during his run for president, all the globalists feared that how he might react as president of the United States. Is he actually going to do what he says he's going to? Is he actually going to build a wall? Is he actually going to pull out of global governing agreements? Yes. But they thought a Hillary Clinton win was such a given that they didn't even worry about it that much until the 2016 election results came in. And it was then that Joe Biden made his famous speech and his international plea to protect the global governing establishment of the globalist world government. Again, it was at January 18th of 2017, just 2 days before President Trump was inaugurated at the World Economic Forum. And President Trump's Joe Biden devoted the last speech as vice president to protecting the New World Order, this world government, liberal international order, which are all synonymous terms, by the way. Joe Biden said, for the last 7 decades, the choices that we have made, particularly the United States and our allies in Europe, have steered our world down a clear path towards what? World government. He said our careful attention to building this and sustaining a liberal international order, when you hear that, think world government. Same thing. With the United States and Europe at its core was the bedrock of success the world enjoyed in the second half of the 20th century. He said, today it is imperative that we act urgently to defend the liberal international order. Defending the liberal international order requires that we resist the forces of European disintegration and maintain our longstanding insistence on a Europe whole, free, and at peace. And he said, it's only by championing this liberal international order, by continuing to invest in our security, reaffirming our shared values, expanding the cause of liberty around the world, that will retain our position as leadership. So, everyone, it's easy to see Joe Biden is a globalist. He fully advocates yielding American citizen sovereignty to this world governing body. And so, are there some salient issues in this election just in 5 days? You better believe they are. And I hope that if you haven't voted yet, that you get it right.
Most of us walk around day by day blind to the prophecies being fulfilled right before us. Every news report brings a new piece to the puzzle in the race towards the final 7 years and the second coming of Jesus Christ. Now, more than ever, it is important for God's people to understand the times in which we are living. On November the 12th, 2013, we opened our Jerusalem Prophecy College in downtown Jerusalem. These same courses are now available online for people who are unable to attend the classes in person. We welcome students to join us and discover the link between current events and the prophecies of the Bible. Take your place in the prophecy of Daniel 11:33. Enroll in the Jerusalem Prophecy College today. Go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com.
So, having studied all this, and, you know, from what I can tell, almost everything President Trump has done to push the America First policy and pull us out of the emerging world government, a President Joe Biden would reverse all that. So consider his, many of you may not know about this, but the Penn Biden Center. What's that devoted to? Protecting the liberal international order. It says it's the Penn Biden, you can check it out, the Penn Biden Center for diplomacy and global engagement. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? But their mission says that the U.S. leadership has sustained an open world for more than 70 plus years now, comprised of common norms, rules, and institutions. United Nations, I named some of them. United Nations, International Criminal Court, International Monetary Fund, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization. And the American-led liberal international order, this is off of his Penn Biden website. The American-led liberal international order, or world government, has facilitated the free movement of people, goods, ideas, and capital, protected the sovereignty and self-determination of nations, promoted basic human rights and fundamental freedoms for all people. That sounds great, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like, well, they're yielding up our sovereignty to this one world governing body. They're redistributing our wealth. He's not going to put that on his website, but that's what's been happening. And it goes on to say on his website, I'm quoting, today, this order, this world government, this liberal international order is under threat. It's being challenged by authoritarians and extremists and strained by the pace, scope, and disruptive nature of global change. And it's in our interest as Americans to defend the liberal international order, this world government. You say, well, I'm wondering, is Joe Biden really a globalist? Go to the Penn Biden Center. He's got it all laid out right there. It actually says on the website, Joseph R. Biden Jr. has fought to secure American global leadership by defending and advancing a liberal international order, the world government. The center will bring the vice president's lifelong commitment to public service to its every endeavor. And then located on the website is a section devoted to, and this is, I'm quoting, addressing threats to the liberal international order, world government. There is also a section advancing the dialogue of globalism. What's globalism? The nation state is obsolete. We must all move into a system of global governance. Okay? And it states, and I'm quoting, over the last 70 plus years, U.S. leadership in shaping the norms, rules, and institutions of an increasingly globalized world has helped channel forces of change in direction of progress. Overall, Americans are healthier, wealthier, better educated, and more secure than any previous generation, in no small measure because of the open, rules-based, interconnected world that we helped build. It's all about, the whole thing is devoted to protecting America's role as the leader of the world government. Now, this man is running for president of the United States, everybody. So, yes, there are some very salient issues that are involved in this. In thinking about Joe Biden and how he would reverse President Trump's achievements to pull us out of this world government and many other things. The New Yorker, and many people realize that. There are articles, there's more articles than you could read on this. The New Yorker ran an article recently, and it says that Biden will restore America's moral leadership. Think about that one. They're going to restore, let's just brush the laptop and all the involvement and using the Biden name with the Ukraine and China and all these things. Let's sweep that under the rug because President Biden would restore America's moral leadership. The article states, after nearly 4 years of the Trump administration, the American-led, here it is again, liberal international order, world government, is barely functioning. William J. Burns, who served as Deputy Secretary of State in the Obama years, defines the foreign policy options for a Biden administration in 3 words. Here's what he sees a Biden administration would do: retrenchment, restoration, and reinvention. What's he talking about? The liberal international order. He said Biden's campaign has at times promised all those approaches, But Biden himself, by instinct, experience, and political temperament, is a restorationist. He's running to make America He's running to make America again, undoing Donald Trump in his passion project at home and abroad. So he's saying, hey, for the last 70-some years, we've worked on this American-led world governing body, this New World Order, this liberal international order, and that is, quote-unquote, America. Donald Trump's pulling us away from that. So President Biden is going to be a president, potentially, President Biden, would make America again in the mold of that leadership for the world governing body. Now, I said there's articles everywhere that's saying he would put us back in as the leader of this liberal international order. We do not want that going into the end time, because the Antichrist will eventually usurp authority over that. We don't want to be under the reign of the Antichrist. We don't want anything to do with this world governing body. The article goes on to state, early in 2019, the former vice president spoke at the Munich Security Conference to offer what now might be considered a mission statement for a Biden presidency. You can go watch the speech. In the speech, he says, "We will be back. Don't have any doubt." Well, of course, the applause from the European officials, they just clapped and they said they have been stunned by Trump's characterizations of the European Union as a foe and of NATO as was loud and enthusiastic, their applause. President Trump, it says, withdrew from a number of the international commitments, among them the Paris Climate Accord, thankfully, the Iran nuclear deal, JCPOA, the United Nations Human Rights Council, the World Health Organization, the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces, and the Open Skies Treaties, two agreements that have endured since late in the Cold War. And Biden has said among his first acts on January 20th that he would rejoin the United States to the Paris Accord. He would almost certainly reaffirm many of the other commitments that Trump has broken. He's going to go about face, everybody. Go right back into where Obama left off. That's what the goal is for a Biden administration. As part of his pledge to confront the coronavirus pandemic, Joe Biden would immediately recommit the United States to the World Health Organization and support the international vaccine consortium that Trump has rejected. I mean, let that one sink in for a minute. And it says there is no restoration of U.S. foreign policy leadership without offering leadership in the world's most pressing crisis. So, the question is, and it was posed in the article, and I'm posing it to you today. Would Biden try to rejoin the Iran nuclear deal, this landmark Obama legacy, now that Iran has taken steps toward restarting aspects of its nuclear program? You've seen that they've got an underground nuclear plant that's been discovered, right? So why would we even contemplate going back into that? Because money is flowing to them because of that. When we signed on to it, sanctions were lifted and money started flowing into the #1 state sponsor of terrorism on the planet. President Trump said, I'm not going to do that. Pulled us out. Day one. Because Joe Biden has said if they start to abide by some of these things of the JCPOA, it's the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, this Iran nuclear deal, yes, we will join that. And another question, would he attempt to reverse other Trump acts and move the U.S. Embassy in Israel out of Jerusalem? I've heard him say that he wouldn't do that, but I've heard him say that he wouldn't do other things as well. Or cease to recognize Israel's annexation of the Golan Heights. I mean, consider the embassy just for a second. Just between you and me. Let's not tell anybody else. Just between you and me. Consider the embassy. Joe Biden is pro Resolution 2334, which says that Israel's access or occupation of East Jerusalem and the West Bank is illegal in the eyes of the international community. President Trump ignored that. He said it's not true and recognized Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital and moved our embassy there. Now, if you're an incoming U.S. president and you do not agree, you agree with the United Nations, what are you going to do with what President Trump has done? What are you going to do about the embassy? What are you going to do about recognizing Jerusalem? Because I promise you, day one, the Palestinians are going to say, potentially, and I know this is hypothetical, but President Joe Biden, you don't agree. You helped to get Resolution 2334 passed. What are you going to do? Do you recognize Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital? Well, if he wants to go along with the international community, which he's a globalist, he's going to say no. Are you going to leave the embassy in Jerusalem? I mean, he'll be between a rock and a hard place, because they'll say, well, if you're a true globalist, get the embassy out of Jerusalem. You can see it coming. Now, he might finagle a way where he can leave the embassy there. I don't know what's going to happen, but he's a globalist. And so it's just something to consider. And, according to the Center for Immigration Studies, Joe Biden opposes any additional wall construction on our southern border and has vowed to stop it if he is elected. So he's a globalist. I mean, from the top of his head to the soles of his feet, Joe Biden believes in world government. According to The Hill, Joe Biden is proposing tax increases, more regulations, higher wages. Think about that, all you small business owners. And return to the Affordable Care Act and changes to independent contracting and other labor rules that would create more cost and bureaucracy. More regulation. And they say that's what you can expect from a Biden administration. Now, you see what's going on here, folks. Globalism. It's one of the, if not the, most salient issue in this election, just like it was back in 2016. Thankfully, we made the right decision. Now here we are in 2020. We're faced with the abortion, and now we've got Amy Coney Barrett. I haven't even done a program on that yet. Amy Coney Barrett confirmed to the Supreme Court. So we're looking at abortion, but we're looking at maybe overturning Roe v. Wade. A lot of different things coming up. So what are we going to do here? Are we going to make the right decision? We got to be prayerful. We got to ask God to help us. But very salient issues coming up just in 5 days. God bless.
This has been End of the Age, brought to you by the faithful partners of Endtime Ministries. If you're not currently a partner with Endtime Ministries, or if you would like more information, we invite you to call us at 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or visit us online at endtime.com.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page.